Thank you everybody for joining. This is Getting Started with ShareFile, and my name is John. I'm a customer success engineer with the ShareFile team, and I've been with ShareFile and working with them for about 6.5 years now. And today we're going to go over the fundamentals of really just getting started with ShareFile. So let's get on to it. So always love to start with a thank you. If you're new to ShareFile, or this is your first webinar, or you're returning with our other webinars in the previous times, thank you again for joining. I know your busy schedule or sometimes doesn't allow you to do these things, but again, obviously this is something we love doing. We love sharing knowledge and information about ShareFile. Continue to look forward to our other webinars coming up. This is not just the one that we have. We do have expert versions and advanced ones. We do have particular ones that are focusing on things like tax season, things like that. So definitely keep tuned. I will go over the events and webinar page later on so that you get an idea what to look for and how to navigate to those pages to sign up for them. So without further ado, let's jump right into the agenda. So today we're going to start out with just how to access your ShareFile instance. Again, you might have used ShareFile in the past with another company, or you're just starting it with it. I want to show you just the fundamentals of just getting to your ShareFile instance. Let's get you logged in. Let's look at your dashboard and let's navigate a little bit about the interface itself. Then we're going to talk about sharing. Obviously, we're ShareFile. We want to talk a lot about sharing, how to request files as well. So again, remember, we're not just a one-way road here. We're a two-way lane. You know, we can share something with somebody, say your associate or a client outside of your company, but we can also upload or request files from somebody. And we're going to talk a little bit also how to manage those shares when you do share them out. We'll talk a little bit about your inbox with each instance, and with your personal account, you do get an inbox just like you would have with your email inbox that you have now with your company. You do have one within your ShareFile account. Then we'll jump into managing folders, right? It's this same thing. If you're managing folders on your computer, your machine that you're on now, you have the same options within ShareFile in terms of allowing users to be able to access those folders and what they can actually do inside those folders, like uploading or downloading. We can deny those things. We're going to jump into a little bit about that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about changing your personal settings, how to make it a little bit more personable, a better feel, get a little more comfortable with the interface and how to use ShareFile. So we'll jump into that. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with a little Q&A. We'll get those questions answered for you. As Delia said, please continue to ask questions during the session here. You will see a Q&A button down there on your interface for Zoom. So if you click into that, if you ask those questions, we'll answer those live, or we'll get those answered within that Q&A section. We do have a lot of different links, resources. Of course, we can't click on these, but we will share these links after the webinar, along with the recording as well. So understand, if you have to leave early, that's perfectly fine. We'll have that recorded for you. We do upload that also to our YouTube page. So you will actually be able to see a history of all the webinars we have done already, I should say, and this one including. And again, these resources, these links are great for what we're actually talking about today. So these are great ones to bookmark, again, if you're first starting out with ShareFile. So without further ado, let's get to the demo. Let's jump in. It's why everyone is here. I apologize. Let me exit out. So first thing, before we get into the interface, the first thing we want to talk about is when you first start with ShareFile, you get assigned an account URL. Your account URL is just like any kind of website URL, right? As you see up here, I launched up my browser and I can access my ShareFile URL by just typing in, just like on mine here, sharefilerocks.sharefile.com. You're going to have the first half of this is usually your company name, or it's something personalized. If you set your account up, well, something you personalize in the beginning. But let's say, for instance, you forgot that URL, right? You don't know how to get that URL. Perhaps somebody signed you up and you have a user account and you know you signed up, but you forgot where to go to. So one thing always to remember is if you go to your personal mailbox, you can always kind of jump into here and see, of course, the invite that you got to activate your user account on your instance. So if you are a user, you should have gotten an email similar to this. Your administrator should have sent you an email. You can always search for the ShareFile name, or you can look up the email address that is sent to you. That's mail@sf-notifications.com, and you should see this activation email. The one thing to spot out is down here below, you'll see the URL that it links to. So that's an easy way just to, if you forgot your instance account URL, you can always jump back in your email, look for that ShareFile account, and you'll see down below, you'll have your URL listed down here below. So coming back over to our login page, first two things I want to mention here is you do have two methods of logging in to your user. First off, on the left-hand side, you have your company employee sign-in. Note that this is usually your single sign-on with other services within your company. If you don't know if you have an account for your company login, reach out to your local administrator within your company to be sure that you can, of course, sign in with that single sign-on process. If you don't, and you activated your account, just like I showed you through that email, you'll log into the right-hand side by using your email address and your password. When you did activate your account, it will go through the process of setting up your password. Also, if you did have two-factor enabled by your administrator within ShareFile, it will set that up for you as well, and we'll get into that a little later. But below, if you did forget your password, say it's been a while, or you got the account and you haven't logged in, maybe it was in the past week or so, you do have the forget password down here. And if you click that, it's going to just simply ask for your email address here. You do have a reCAPTCHA. We know we love these, right? It's basically a robot asking you if you're not a robot. So as you can see here, we have our buses. You could go through this process to get that reset. Make sure, again, if you did forget it, no problem. You don't need to reach out to anybody. This should be self-service. So save a little time. I've already logged in with my account. Now, again, this is a fresh account. This is an account that I just activated within my instance. As you can see, I'm greeted with a nice little dashboard and interface that we work with. So let's talk a little bit about that. I'm going to get over to the left-hand panel as well, just to go through some of the options. But first, to start out with, at the top of our page here, we have a couple things to mention. We're going to jump into a couple of these later on. You do have a search, a little icon here. This is if you're trying to find a file name or something you've uploaded previously and you're trying to find it, you don't know where you put it, you can always use the search option here. We do have help. This will take you to our resource page. That will help out. And I will actually go through a couple different resource options here in case you forgot how to do something. Then you have your apps and your logout. Apps are going to be something that we're going to dive into as well. It's ShareFile is not just a browser-enabled service. We do have other applications for Mac and Windows that you can leverage to make access even easier. And then you have your logout. That will just log out of your session. So if you needed to, you can always log back in. Starting off, you'll first see that you have a recent file section. This is where all the files that you're working on or uploaded just recently are going to show here. And then you're going to see off to the right-hand side, you're going to have your shortcuts. These are what we're going to actually dive into once we start sharing out a file. I'll go through each one of these quickly. But then below here, you have your tutorials as well. We're actually in the midst of even making this even better. But these are great, useful videos of just some of the common tasks that you'll, of course, interface with in ShareFile. So these are great and helpful. You can always drop these down from getting started all the way to advanced, and then also goes over some of our ShareFile applications, like I noted above here at the top right. So let's get off to our navigation panel off to the left-hand side. Now, of course, the dashboard button here, that's just going to take you back to the main page. If you're navigating through it, you can always hit dashboard and it takes you back. The first thing I want to go over is your folder section, right? This is where you're going to live the most in terms of keeping your files, organizing them, managing your folders. This is where you're going to spend most of your time. So first off, you have personal folders and shared folders. Within shared folders, and mind you, I'm going to actually switch over to a instance or an account, I should say, that has a little bit more files in it. It's already prepped, but when you first jump in here, you're not going to have any shared folders, I should say. Shared folders are just that. These are folders that we are sharing out to clients or employees. You're keeping data into it. You're collaborating within the shared folders, right? Then you have your personal folders. Your personal folders are just that. These are things that you might not need to collaborate with others. You might need to stash files here for something like, say, a project that you're working on, you're editing files within ShareFile. I would tend to keep your personal files in here that you're not really collaborating with. You could still share from your personal folder, but it's more prevalent to share out from the shared folder section here. And then we have favorites. Again, I'm going to show you a little bit more data in my other account here, but favorites are just that. As you go through ShareFile and all your different folders and files, you'll see a little star icon to the left of those items. If you click that star, that is going to take them into the favorite section here. It's not going to move them or anything. This is just going to give you a section basically to allow you to go through bookmarks, if you will, right? Bookmarks, you save those so that you can access those links faster. So same thing here, we'll have favorites so that you can access folders later on that you constantly access. You then have your file box. Your file box, think of it as just a temporary space. So if you were using, say for instance, our Outlook plugin, we do have something called our Outlook plugin that allows you to upload files very quickly through your traditional email inbox. Those files, if you're not specifying where they're going to first upload to your file box here. It's a temporary space, and those files within the file box only last up to 180 days. After that, they're going to be deleted, and that will go into your recycle bin. So note, if you were using one of our apps, or if you were requesting a file, which we'll go to a little later today, and when you request it, it goes into your file box. If you wanted to keep that permanent instead of it deleting after 180 days, you can simply move those files into your shared folders or your personal folders here. Then your recycle bin. Just like I mentioned here, everyone has a recycle bin. It's just like your Windows recycle bin. If you delete something, it's going to go here first. So anything that goes in here, you accidentally delete something, or in the file box, the file automatically deletes after 180 days, it will come into the recycle bin here. Note that these items last up to 45 days. Past 45 days, these will automatically be deleted, and that is permanently deleted. Before that time, you can come in here and you can restore files directly from your recycle bin. All right, so with that, Delia, I wanted to just ask you, because I just want to be sure I hit on everything. Anything I missed here in terms of navigating through just the simple ways of getting files and folders in, and also your dashboard? Anything I might have missed?
No, I loved it. I thought you did a great job. And I don't see any questions that are specific to the dashboard right now. But yeah, you covered my favorite thing, which is favorites. So
Perfect.
I live out of my favorites, and I am excited for you to show later on, what an established favorites section would look like, because
Awesome.
I'm sure a lot of people love, being able to, like you said, bookmark and be able to come back to it quicker later.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, so let's actually go into a more well-established account, right? That just wants to show a little bit more of what we actually have done already, some folders that are already established. So let's jump into that. Again, I just wanted to show the experience of what a fresh account looks like before you start loading it up with your files and folders. So I'm going to log out here. Let's reduce down one tab here, and I'm just going to log into my other account. Now, I did mention earlier about two-factor, right? This is a really easy example of if you did have two-factor enabled, and I'll talk about that and how to change that in your personal settings a little bit here. But this is what it's going to present you with in terms of getting a verification code. Now, this goes to my phone, so I'm just going to put in the verification code. And that should get me established. All right, perfect. So you might see the difference, right off the bat. First off, I have recent files. These are files that, again, I've uploaded or I've worked on, I've opened them up, I've read them. These are things, again, that I have just recently worked on. So it's an easy way, kind of like your favorites, if you will, that you could jump right into the file, kind of left off of where you were when you were working on the file itself, right? So, though, let's jump into getting started with sharing, right? This is what the service is for. Let me first go over some of the shortcuts that we actually have here, because I like to live here, just like how Delia said. She loved the favorite section. She loves to jump in there because she just needs to get to a folder really quickly. I love the shortcut section because that's where I live the most. Most of your active functions or your tasks are going to live within the shortcuts here. So first off, you have the share file section here. This is just like it sounds. We're going to share a file or folder or many files from this shortcut in a minute. Then we can request files. Like I said, it's a two-way lane, right? We can share and also request files to us. We can create a user. So we'll go over this if we have some time. I just want to be sure that we carve some time out, but this is actually creating a user for ShareFile. We have two different types of users within ShareFile. We have something called an employee, and that employee is a licensed user. This is what you are actually seeing here. A licensed user has all the different other functionality that I'm going to go through today. But we also have something called clients. Clients are non-licensed users. Think of these as people you're working with externally that you're sending files to or requesting files from. So just want to mention that real quick. And then your personal folders, that will just take you right to your personal folders section here. Same thing with shared folders. You have your favorites, just like we showed a little bit ago. Your feedback and approval is one of our built-in workflows down here. This is a great way to automate some actions in terms of obtaining feedback and approval for files. And then you have send for signature. Send for signature is our Write Signature add-on. That is something if you needed some kind of document signed, if you ever needed that done, you could use Write Signature or the option Send for Signature to get a document easily signed. If you don't have that option and you're looking for, of course, a e-signing solution, definitely reach out to your account rep and look out for trying to get that integrated into the instance that you already have. So let's kind of jump right into sharing a file here. When I click it, the first thing it's going to ask is, I need a file to share. Now, first thing to mention is that we could just simply drag and drop files from our desktop. Simple enough, right? But say, for instance, I also had files that are already in ShareFile that I want to share out. I'm going to show a couple different ways after this and how you do it, but I can either click on this and click on from ShareFile, and that will actually show my personal and my shared folders, and I could jump into there and select a file or a folder if I will. But for this instance, I'm just going to drag over a file I already have. This is my super secret plans that I need to send out to my client. And now, as you can see, it uploaded. This wasn't already existing in ShareFile. So that will actually go to my file box. Remember, we talked about your file box. We talked about the file box and how that is temporary. That will actually go to the file box there. Now I can add more items, or I can continue the drag and drop. So you could do either or. And again, if I choose from my device, it's going to be the same thing in terms of accessing my local machine so that I can bring over a file. So I can continue. And now that will automatically generate a URL that I can then simply copy and share out. Now, the first thing you want to see here and mention is that people can anonymously download. So this basically means that this link, I can send this to anyone, and this anonymously will basically allow anyone to access that file that I shared. So for example, if I did send this to a client either through chat or through a separate email, if I actually put that in, automatically, they don't have to do anything. They don't have to log in. They don't have to do anything else other than, hey, we see our secret plan here, we see the Word doc, and we're able to download it, do what we actually need to do with the file itself. But we want to be more secure, correct? So what we want to do is edit this option. And from here, we can add that security that ShareFile is known for. So from here, we can do a couple things where we can either have it view or download. We do also have the edit option, so we can edit live. This particular document we can't do just for restrictions, but if you wanted to, we can actually use co-editing to edit that document that I have selected. Then also we have who can access the link. So this is where the security comes in, right? As you can see, we automatically have this set as anonymous, meaning anyone can access that link. If I send it to them, they should be able to do it. We have a couple other flavors like name and email required. So before they get to that document, it's going to request their name and email. And then we also have the sign-in options. These are very important. I always like to, of course, utilize the sign-in required. So what that means is once I send that link out to somebody, they're required to log in with their ShareFile user, right? One note on that is probably you're thinking, well, what if they don't have a ShareFile account in my instance already? So that's okay. I'll show in a minute here how we send out to people via email instead of just sending them a link. Because what happens there is it will ask them to create an account first, or I'm sorry, a notification will be sent to them indicating they need to activate an account, and it will step them through a wizard in creating the account themselves. So this is very important. Just be sure that you do change that if you do want a little bit more security, or if it's something more public, it's a public announcement for your company, you can always keep it as anonymous. Then you have the access expires. This is when the link expires. It's not when the data expires. It's not going to delete the file that you're sharing. This is expiring just the link that we're sharing. Remember, we're not actually giving them a file. We're not sending them a file. We're giving them a link they can access to that file. So we can expire that URL at these particular times. Like if it's very sensitive, time sensitive, I don't want anyone accessing it after a day, we can choose that. And then a couple other things here is that we can always use the latest version. We do have something called version within ShareFile, so it's not going to just overwrite files. When you upload a file with the same name, let's say in the same folder, it will save it as a new copy or a new version. This option just makes sure that we're using the latest version of that file if there are multiple versions of it. And then we have add a watermark. So we do have the ability to add a watermark overlaying the actual file that we're sending. We're not going to get into that today. And then finally, we have the notifications of when that link is accessed. So whenever we're sending it to somebody accesses that link, we're going to be getting a notification back to indicate, hey, they opened the link, they downloaded it, or whatnot. So it's really good just to understand that, hey, somebody actually accessed that data. Okay, so we can save there. Now, if I wanted to keep the anonymous link, I can also create a separate link with those other options, if you will. So I can easily create multiple links with different varying permissions if you wanted to do that. So you don't necessarily need to keep it to one link. You don't just have to edit just this one. Or if you want, you can replace it or delete the link in total. But just remember, if I'm deleting this link and I did send this over to, say, my friend John Doe, and say, remember, we set that for 1-day expiration, and they can abide by that. But say, for instance, you did want to delete that ahead of time, you can simply come here and delete it. And then those people, the person that I sent it to, wouldn't be able to access that data. So we talked about just creating that link. As you can see, it was super simple in creating that link. I could copy it, send that over through any method that I can think of. But what if we need to send it through email? So we do have the capability of sending it through email directly through ShareFile. You don't got to go outside of ShareFile to send an email. So let's go through that real quick. So instead of using the link, if I clicked on the send to specific people, couple options to be aware of is we do have an encryption option. Remember, your data at rest in transit is already encrypted. This encryption option, if you do see it, that allows you to encrypt the body of the message. We just did a webinar all on this, so you can check out our YouTube page to actually see how that function works. But from here, all I would need to do is, of course, if I want to edit those options, remember, just like I had previously in the links before, I can edit those security options. But then I can just simply send it to somebody that I want to share this with. So as you saw before, I had Mr. John Doe as that new client. So I need to send him an email with that document. Now, that person, as you can see, I can simply start typing, or I can hit the address book here to find who I need to send this to, but it will automatically come up with names it finds. You can simply add in an email address here if they don't exist in ShareFile. Remember, like I said, if they don't exist and I send them an email, and remember, if I say I set this to require to log in, they need an account, right, to log into, they will get another email notification with this link to activate their account, and it'll go through a wizard with them to do it. So then I can add a little bit of personalization to our subject here and add a little bit of a message here about the document if I wanted to. I could also tell it to remember the subject and message. If I had something customized and I wanted to keep that, you could do that there. But that's simply it. All I need to do is send that off. That share is actually sent. And let's go over to Mr. John Doe's email box here, because this would be his email box. As a client, I would obtain it just like this. If I open it, I'll have the direct link to that file. Again, there are different aspects of how this looks with the encryption. That changes a little bit of things of how it opens up as well. But this is very simple, right? I set that up. I just sent it over to John Doe. I kept those original settings as they were. And all the client would have to do is simply click on view, and that will pop up my super secret plans. Now, as you saw there, you might have saw it when I went through the edit options. I didn't allow them to download. I only wanted them to view. So as you can see, the download option is no longer available. They can't download it. They can just simply preview it. And of course, that will also show this in this Word doc, this Office Word doc, that it is protected and they can't download it. So a little example of just what the client will experience when they go through it. Again, if they did require sign in, we did add that extra layer of security that will then prevent them from accessing it until they log in. So I just want to stress that fact, because I know that usually a lot of questions of, well, they're not part of the system. How do I get them to create an account? So if I didn't have an account, there would be 2 emails here, one with the activating of the account. Before that, then you will get the actual link, just like you saw in the email, and they'll log in with the account they just set up.
Hey, John, so
Yes.
a question just came in very, very similar to that. So it's once I send a link, is there a way for me to verify that it was sent? So you're seeing, you know, in this example, the customer receiving their email. But now what if you wanted to look, you know, into your history? Is there a way to do that?
That's an awesome, perfect point leading up to what I was getting to actually get to. So we talked a little bit on the left-hand side, our panel, about some of the folders and everything, but we did skip one point. In fact, here is you have an inbox. All employees will get an inbox, right, for your account. Your inbox, just think of it as, again, just your normal company email inbox, right? You have your sent, you have your inbox itself, your received files, you do have an archive section here. So these are any shares that are sent to you or you are sending out. So for instance, just like that one I sent out, I can come into the sent folder here, the sent from the inbox, and there's my last sent that I actually have here. So I can actually come into here if I wanted to. I can just simply click on it, and this will give me some review of what's going on. As you can see, here are a couple options. I can actually view the document I sent or the message I sent. I could also tell it just to resend the email notification. So this way, if they say they forgot it, maybe it went through their spam by accident, maybe they're just kind of just getting back into their inbox and they missed it, make sure that you could just simply come here and resend. It'll be the file that I sent, and then a little bit of the history of the date and the time that I sent it at. So this is a good, easy way to show that I can jump in here and be sure that that did send out, or if I did need to resend it, I can come in here and simply be able to do that. Another point is you do have the expiring link. Remember I showed you when we're first sharing out, I could simply delete that link if I wanted to. You could also do it from here. So if I come in here, I can simply expire that and say yes, and that will show now that it's expired. So do note that, you know, once I do send an expiration on the link, you do show that you have an expiration limit here based on what you set. So that is another important point to note that, hey, did it expire or is it still alive? You can always check on the right-hand side here. Same thing though, if you did say you received the file and you don't remember where it went to, you can always come into received. Same kind of concept here. You can see the exact notification that you got, and you can open up the share link that contains the data, and you can simply click on that and you're ready to go. You can archive items. So if you did just want to kind of keep your inbox clean, like we always want to, right? I'm a clean freak. I'm OCD about these things. So typically I like to archive things. Later on, I like to come back into my archive. If there was something I forgot, I can always come back there. So archive is just simply that. I'm just archiving that email or the message that I received into the archive. So later on, I can retrieve it if need be. All right, so just showed a simple way of how to share files, but what if I need a file? So I could simply click on the request file section here. Now, remember, I keep bringing this up, the file box, right? As I requested files, it simply is going to default over to the file box section. So that's why I say if you don't pick a folder, like if I actually come in here, I can edit it and say, for instance, I have Mr. Customer 1, or even more relevant to this demo, say John Doe. I'm waiting for something for John Doe. I need to get something from him. I could simply choose that folder, and the link that I create, all that data that they're going to upload is going to go to the John Doe folder here. But again, by default, it will go to your file box. And remember, that file box has 180-day retention, so that after 180 days, that will automatically delete and go to your recycle bin. So just be cautious of that. It could be that you might get something and you just need it really quickly. You don't want to kind of keep it in a folder. You just need to see something from somebody. You could always keep it on file box for that purpose. But for this instance, we use Mr. John Doe's folder here. And remember, just like I shared a file, I have two options to share. I either get a link, which generates that unique link that I created, or I can send it through an email. So if I do get a link, I do have my edit options here. And remember, same thing, we have either, it could be anonymous, so they don't have to log in to upload the data that I've requested, or I can require them to sign in. And of course, I like this one as well. It's going to ask for a name and email at the least. So if they don't want to require it to have a login within ShareFile, you could always just at least have a name and email so that we do have logging. If there was an audit that was needed to be done, we could see who actually uploaded with the information they input. And then again, you do have the expiration. So just like we have for sharing, we also have an expiration for the upload link. And then same thing here, we do have notifications. So when John Doe does upload that file to me, I will get an email notification saying, hey, John Doe uploaded that file. It'll give me a link directly to that file so that I can access it. So it makes it very simple.
Hey, John.
Yes.
I think you're talking a little fast because you're so excited.
All right. Yeah, I'll definitely slow down. Sure. Absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, ShareFile gets me excited for sure. All right, so with that, again, we do have the URL here that we could copy. I just want to show how that looks, right? So if I did copy this and I did send this over to John Doe is going to click on that link, and this is basically what it's going to look like. It's very simple in terms of the interface. As you can see, it's basically file request from John Bartel. And this is my company name that I have for ShareFile. My ShareFile rocks. And again, I can simply drag and drop if I wanted to, or if I click Browse Files, it's going to open up just Windows Explorer. Since I'm on a Windows machine, it's going to go to my downloads, or if the file's in my documents, you can actually access it there. And actually, while I'm in here, I could just do it this way instead of drag and drop. And now I have the file that I want in here to upload. And all they would need to do is click Upload, and that file has been uploaded there. You get a confirmation.
Hey, John, what if I wanted to add another file or folder?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, you could continue to do this. Now, remember, just like we showed where it was the link expiration, if that link hasn't expired, you should still be able to use that link to upload. So even if I exited this page by accident, I can always go back and click on that link. But if I wanted to, I could continue to drag and drop. I have another file here. Let me get one other file.
And then while you're doing that, John, we got a question in the chat. Is there a file size restriction or size limit?
Got it. The file type, we don't restrict really any file type that you'll be uploading. The amount of, or the size of the file does matter. We do cap it at about 100 gigabytes. So that would be on average probably your biggest file that you would, but yeah. So you could always chunk those down if you wanted to. Just for an example, if it was a zipped file, meaning you had several files within a zipped or compressed file itself, you could break those out and upload those if it exceeds that. But more particularly, yeah, single file, 100 gigs, it's usually pretty rare, but we do see it from time to time. So just like Delia said, she made a good point, is if I did need to upload multiples, again, that screen will stay the same. I drag and drop this in and I was able to upload again. And again, this will come back to the screen where it can continue to upload. So as you can see, very simple, very easy to get that file uploaded that you need. And I'm not going to demonstrate this just, due to saving some time, but same thing here would be through the email method. I would just like I shared a file, I'm sending an email to other people that would be requesting that file from. So I could simply put in the email address, or again, I could start typing out their name, and I see Mr. John Doe there. I have my subject and message here that I can edit, and then I can edit my upload options just like the share link that I had. Perfect. So that's it. That's as simple as it gets. So now, just to showcase, if I did get that file uploaded, I can always go to John Doe folder, and then there's the super secret plans that I uploaded. So, and you'll see that the anonymous, that's what we actually chose for the security, right? Because we don't know who actually uploaded that. So that's why I say if you did want to have some possible auditing, reasons or logging that you needed to go back to, I would say requiring sign-in, or at least requiring the name and email address, would be better in terms of security when we're talking about that.
And John, while talking about, finding out who uploaded what based on the security, so is there a way to get a report? Is that something that is an admin level permission only? What does that look like for getting the audit?
That is, that is an admin level permission, at least on the folder itself. If you were an admin, and this is a good segue getting to the next subject here, because we're going to talk a little bit about folders and how to manage those. But if you ever did have a need to look at activity, if you're an admin on the folder itself, or an administrator that has logging capabilities, we would have the ability to come in here and choose View Activity Log. And from here, you could do a various amount of different reporting based on that. As you can see, if I wanted just to focus on uploading, I could just take out everything and just look at uploading. And I could customize the user type and also the date range that I'm looking for. So it's an easy way just to do that in terms of the folder, but we do have other reporting built in for administrators, definitely not for this actual discussion here, but it is an easy way if you're an administrator on the folder to be able to do that.
And I love that you can export it to Excel.
Yes, yeah, the CSV or Excel. Yeah, it's the easiest way, so that you can customize it a little bit, make it look a little more presentable if you needed to send it to somebody. It does help. All right, so let's get into folders. So we talked about sharing, we talked about receiving files. Now let's jump into how we organize and how we share out folders within ShareFile. So as I mentioned, like a fresh account, remember we didn't have any shared folders, we didn't have any personal folders in here. So as you can see on this account, we have a nice set of different options here that we can work off of. So you can always create a folder by going up to the top right here and create folder. We'll just create one for testing. And yeah, we want to add people to this folder, but I want to show a different way just so it encompasses all of managing the folder itself. But all we really need to do here is name the folder and create it. And within here, obviously it's empty, right? Now I can simply drag and drop stuff into here. So like we have a new hire confirmation document that I want in here. I have some IT testing documentation I need in here. That needs to remain. So this folder is created, but it was only created by me. I didn't add anybody. Remember, you saw that add people to the folder section. I did skip it. You can say yes to that and you could add people there, but I love to show this way. So I have my items in here, but off to the right side, you have people on this folder. So people on this folder means just that, means who has access to this folder. Now it could be varying different permissions, as you will see here, but here I could see who has access. From here, this is me, this is the owner. Of course, I have full access to my folder. We do have super users. This is a particular group of admins that have access to basically any folder within ShareFile. Again, not a subject for this discussion, but you will see that sometimes automatically come in. But if I needed to add somebody, say I needed to add Mr. John Doe to this folder, right? And remember, John Doe could be a client, could be an employee, could be anyone that might just need access to this. So from here, I can actually simply start typing in the name, just like we had. And remember, you do have the address book here. But I can come in here and add Mr. John Doe. And you have the permissions off to the right. Permissions are pretty straightforward of what they are. So you do have the view option. So if I only had view, that means they only could see or view the documents that are in there. That's about it. Downloading gives them the ability to view and download. Upload allows them to then upload files to this new folder. Delete allows people to simply come in here and delete any file or folder within this section. So be very cautious with this. You don't want really anyone to have delete options unless it's maybe somebody you're working with and they have access to it and they might need to do some cleanup here and there. Yes, and that's a good point, because if we do move a actual file, we do need the delete option, because that in effect deletes the file from the originating location. So that's a very good point. And then you have admin. Admin does basically two things. It allows that person to be able to add additional people to this folder, but also allows them to do things like reporting, just like I showed you in terms of reporting on the folder. And then in here, you do have the folder alerts. So ShareFile is very big with notifications. We do want to be sure that you know what's going on in these folders or just inside the instance itself. So you do have alerts, so you can alert yourself to being, of course, alerted for downloads, which typically you wouldn't want to be alerted every time there was a download. And by the way, you do have to be an admin for that to work. But again, this is typically not used a lot unless you really want to monitor that folder. But you also do have upload. You do have upload alerts. I think that's really good to have, because if you're an owner, there's obviously somebody that's going to upload something. You just want to monitor what is being uploaded into the folder. So you'll get notifications on that. And then also notifications on when people are added. And then also applying settings to subfolders. So this is really important as well. The settings that I have here for Mr. John Doe, any folder that's within the testing folder will apply the same permissions. So be very cautious of that. If you didn't want to give them permissions to every subfolder under that, or you only wanted to give them certain permissions to certain folders within that, say that group of folders, then you might want to uncheck that and be sure to apply them individually to those folders. But other than that, once I added Mr. John Doe, as you can see, I didn't add him as an admin. He's there. He's now able to actually get access to that testing folder. So what we'll see is, as the client, we'll be notified that, hey, you've been added to a folder. And now I can simply click that link and it will navigate me directly to that folder. There we go. So as Mr. John Doe is here, I can now access this folder and be able to do what I need to do here. And just like I said, I gave him upload permission, so that gives him a fair amount of ability to be able to upload things that I need from him on that folder. So let's come back over here. So we talked a little bit about just folder permissions, how that worked, and so forth. And in reality, again, there are a couple different ways of how we share it. I showed you the simple way of doing it through the shortcut, but say for instance, now John Doe has access to this folder and he needs to actually share something out. Maybe he needs to send this over to his client. Maybe he's an employee that's working on this project. So I could easily, if I wanted to, check mark, and I could check mark multiple files, as you can see, or I could check mark the whole folder, if anything, as you can see here, and I could simply click share. And from here, as you can see, I'll have my 2 files listed, and the same options that we had previously. I could either create the get a link or send this to a specific person. Remember, send to a specific person is through the email method, and then get a link is just generating the link directly for you. All right. As you see here, we have some of the edit options here. This is one I wanted to show. It was grayed out in the other one because we couldn't edit that one. But the edit option, if we give them that, will allow them to view, download, and edit this, and they can actually co-edit that document. So we do leverage Office for co-editing so that people can work on the same file at the same time in real time. So that's a really cool feature. If you did want to say, Mr. John Doe wants to work with an employee, want a document together, you can choose to edit. And that does require them to sign in to be able to authenticate and to log into that account before they can start editing that document. So I just wanted to show just, again, another method of just sharing. I don't need to go back out to my dashboard. I could simply go into the folder that I want to share out, simply click share, and I'm ready to share those files out just like I showed you before. All right, let's actually jump over to the other account because I did want to show a couple other things there, and I did want to show just some of the other points of accessing resources and accessing your personal settings. So let me log out here. We're going to go log back into our new account that we created for this instance. So this would be our John Doe email. And I believe, Delia, I'm going to have to ask you for the 2FA because we use the company phone for this. So whenever you're ready, Delia.
All right, it is 10779.
All right. So to speak about a little bit of personalization, remember we talked about that. We talked about the profile. We did talk about 2FA. As you can see, we did skip that point in creating the account and setting up 2FA. But say, for instance, your 2FA, your two-factor was set up already for your account. You need to make those changes. Or say you need to make changes in general for your personal settings. You're going to see down here, you're going to have your personal settings. And from here, a couple different things. You can always edit your first name, last name, if anything. You can add a nice little profile picture just to customize a little bit. You could change your password once you're logged in. Remember, you do have the self-service before you log in if you did forget your password. You do have the ability to edit your email or alter or add an alternative, I should say. One big thing I love to show here is the email frequency. We talked a lot about notifications and how that worked in terms of sharing things and getting notifications when people are added to folders and when they upload things. Emails sometimes come in a lot when you're added to, say, several folders. So if you want to reduce that, by default, we're in real time, meaning if I uploaded something to that folder and you're set to get notifications when an upload, you will get that real time, meaning you'll get that right when that finishes. If you wanted to consolidate some of your notifications, you could do that by going down to the email frequency and choosing how you want to consolidate it. So let's take, for example, because I love using once a day. Once a day means within a whole day, you'll get one email notification with all the activity or the notifications you've gotten in ShareFile. This way, if you're just looking for an overview of what was happening for the day, towards the end of the day, you're like, hey, I just want to know what was going on in my ShareFile instance. You'll get that one email and it will list all the activity that has occurred that you're signed up for in terms of your folder, or when you shared something, when you get notified that person accessed the file, you'll be all consolidated into one email a day. So it'll be the same thing if we did 15 minutes every hour or twice a day. So it just, again, consolidates notifications for anything that's happening in ShareFile for your user account. And then you do have some time and date. You do have the ability to change the default email language if you want to. So you do have that. But let's get down to the two-step verification. Within the two-step verification, this is where you actually have your, of course, number listed that you have for receiving text. So you can add a backup phone if you wanted to here. If you didn't want to use just text message or voicemail on, a voice message on your primary phone here, you could also set up an authenticator app. Authenticator app are those applications on your phone that, say, Microsoft or Google offers that allows you to add an extra layer of security. So when you add that authenticator app, it'll allow you to leverage that to authenticate for two-factor. Again, not for today's discussion, but we do discuss that in some of the previous webinars that we've had. And then finally, you do have the backup security code. So if you wanted to back up something, say, for instance, you lost your phone, it's always good to have backup security codes. Just as I mentioned, once you actually click this, it'll generate those codes for you. Do not save it in ShareFile, because if you can't access ShareFile, you wouldn't be able to get the backup codes. So just a little word of advice. It has happened before. So I would say keep this in a location when you do download it. Keep it in a secure location outside of ShareFile so that you could easily, of course, obtain it. We do also have app-specific passwords. This is for particular applications that we host. Again, something we're not going to go over today, but of course we do have a simple description there that you could go over. All right, I think we're running against time here, Delia. So I did want to show one last thing here. For all the things that we kind of talked about today, I want to introduce off to the bottom right, you'll see that little ShareFile icon pop up. We've actually reintroduced a lot of different functionality within this option. This is our resource center. So say, for instance, the things that I showed you today, like sharing a file, requesting a file, or setting up folders, use this icon to be able to jump in and look at support articles, or even better, getting started. These are awesome. These are self-guided functions where it will show you how to do it in real time. So for instance, if I wanted to create a folder, it's going to jump into selecting a folder. So it's going to guide me through. It's going to tell me to go into my personal folder. This is just an example. Oh, and I can create a folder from here. So it's very nice and guided. It goes through a couple different ones. We're continuously adding to here. I love this one also, to get the file signed. So again, that's a right signature one. So if you're new to right signature, this is a great one to show. But these are all self-guided. This is really easy way to just kind of go through and understand, again, some of the simple functions and tasks that you can, of course, accomplish within ShareFile. And back here, we have what's new. Keep an eye on these. These will pop up with a little red icon if they're new. These are some things like this awesome customer success engineering. We have a video out to show, of course, some of the other customer success engineers we have on the team. And we have some of the new things like accelerated onboarding for new clients we have. This will show you how it works. Great little resource. Upcoming webinars. I was kind of mentioning this before. There is another events and webinar page. Delia will be actually sending that link out to you so that you can access it. But this will show any upcoming ones that are coming new. Again, the little red icon should pop up for any new ones that are coming up. And then finally, we have support articles. These are great. These are mostly all frequently used support articles that we have out there. You do have a search bar up here at the top if you're looking for a particular topic. But if, say, for instance, we need to modify folder options, that will take me right to the how to modify folder options link, and that will just guide me through just how to do that. So great resource, again, if you're new to, of course, ShareFile, or you forgot to do something. Aside from even just going to the dashboard and looking at our videos, we do have the ability to come here and help get you guided a little more particular than if you were to just find it on your own, say through Google. So I think we're coming up against time. I did want to get to questions, Delia. I know we skipped through a couple different things here, but again, like I said, we do cover quite a lot on our YouTube page. If you're not familiar with it, you could simply come into youtube.com. You could easily go here by doing /c/ShareFile/videos here, or just simply type in ShareFile up here. That will take you to the main page. And then we have all of our different previous webinars that we have listed here. You can come down to our different playlists. And within playlists, we've kind of broken these down into just simple how-tos, things like e-signature for our right signature options, different, of course, webinars that we've hosted already. So a lot of different options there in terms of YouTube to really get what you actually are looking for.
First question, can you please demonstrate the search function? So it was like the first thing that you mentioned during the webinar was that magnifying glass, for the search.
Sure, let me log into my other account. So just to demonstrate what it will look at. And again, it's a great option if, say, for instance, you forgot what folder you put it in. You know it's there, but you kind of just forgot where it went to, right? It's an easy way to just find that file very quickly. Just put in my code here. Shows our security there. It's going to ask for my 2FA. And then let's take, for instance, my new hire confirmation that I recently uploaded. It will, or it should actually display recent files here, just like I have here. But of course, if you wanted to, you could start looking or start typing out other things, kind of like projects. I believe I have a folder. There we go. So as you can see, it doesn't just find files, it'll also find folders. So if you have a really long or a very drawn out hierarchy of folders within your root folder, and you're trying to find that folder that you're working on and you forgot what the name was, you could simply click on that, the folder that I found, and that will take you directly to it. But yeah, very easy. It should also help trying to find, of course, words that are in the document. It'll try its best to find it, but typically you're going to want to look for the title of the folder or the file name itself.
I think that with the last few minutes that we have, I feel like it'd be really great to show the apps page.
Yes. Yep, that's a very good point. So, of course, with the different resources I was showing you down below, of course, there is options to show you what our apps do. If you want to see what our apps are all about, simply click on the app section here, and you'll actually see that we have various different clients for different purposes, right? So we do have files for Windows here. This allows you to put in a just a shared drive letter in Windows Explorer. If you're not familiar with what that looks like, let me just kind of drive over my Explorer window here. So what Files does is we'll actually add a little shortcut to all of your folders that you have selected in ShareFile. So once I actually signed in and installed the application, I could simply navigate through, and here's all the files that I have, or folders that I have in ShareFile. So it's a very easy way to access folders and files instead of going through a browser. You have the Outlook plugin that easily allows you to send email without having an actual attachment on the email itself. It actually generates a link for you right through your Outlook email. So it's a very easy way of doing that. And then down below, we have a couple other ones, just like the Outlook. We do have it for Gmail as well. So that's another nice little tool. If you're a Gmail user, we do have an easy tool to utilize so that you could create shares right through Gmail and send them off to your users. But definitely, as you can see, we do also have it for Mac as well. So if you go to the Mac section, we have pretty much similar. We do have mobile applications for Android and iOS. So we have those, and then we have the third-party integrations. We talk a little bit about that, some of our more popular ones. In case you're looking for integrations outside of ShareFile, it is a great place to start looking at what you can actually do with ShareFile and integration. These are just scraping the surface of really what ShareFile can do. I highly advise to jump into our YouTube page, look at some of our previous webinars. We do have more expert, advanced ones. We do talk about, particular verticals in terms of, say, if you're in the tax industry or you're in accounting, we do have videos specific for that as well. So again, this is really meant for just you getting started, getting used to using ShareFile. But I highly advise, keep attending these webinars. We love to see you back. We love to talk about, different topics. And also at the end of the day, let us know your feedback. If there was something that we could have done better on, or we could have emphasized more on, give us that feedback. We love to cater these more to you and not just us, just bringing up these certain topics. We love to hear from you. So it's super easy to find it right through Google. If you just type in ShareFile events or just events and webinars, you'll see the first page here, events and webinars. You could also find that on our main page on sharefile.com under resources. So you'll see that under events and webinars. But this is the great little section that I was kind of hinting on before, is we'll lay out all the different ones that are coming out. And again, simply click on sign up, sign, of course, your associates up, your users. All this is free, obviously. You don't need to be a ShareFile user yet. Maybe you're thinking of utilizing ShareFile in another aspect of your life. Definitely, again, continue to join, continue to add in, of course, your associates if you find this useful.